Hello and welcome back to the Novice Lumberjack, where I'm going to try and get this Poulan 3300 to run. So I've already taken the top handle off. It was bent up a little bit. I think I got it back to good usable condition. So let's get started with it. Ooh. First off, this filter is terrible. I won't be putting this back on. Let's take this carburetor off because we're going to need new fuel lines. That is a definite, it's an absolute on this saw. So if you watch the channel, you know that I give high praise to these chainsaws. Not because they're actually so much better than anything else and stuff like that. No. It's because these are somewhat modern in design, good, usable work saws made by Poulan. And so many people think that Poulan didn't make a chainsaw like that. They think all the Poulans are junk. Well, from my experience, it's just not the case. So these right here, as I like to call them, the Poulan high tops. This is a small block. You could get this thing as low as, I think, 46 cc's, all the way up to 54 cc's. Now this one is a 54 cc. It's also, and this is one of the things that I think Poulan got wrong, right? They shouldn't have done this. What it is it has a bare aluminum cylinder. Now I've had some viewers, I don't know if they're subscribers or not, but some viewers claim that a bare aluminum cylinder never existed. Well, if you are one of those people, you're wrong. And it's okay. I mean, I've been wrong on a lot of things. Whenever I first found out about it, my mind was kind of blown. Couldn't believe they would do such a thing. But the reality is, it doesn't work too bad. They obviously, they found that it was cheaper to do that in a lot of cases. And so they're less optioned out saws. That's what they would do. They would go ahead and chrome the piston and bare the aluminum cylinder, right? They would not do anything with it. It doesn't have any coating, doesn't have Nickel, doesn't have, oh, that's right, these right here. You got to take, be careful if you're working on one of these. You got a Phillips screw down here holding this top plate on, and you got to remove that on certain models, like this. This is the small block. Small block, you got to remove this to remove the carburetor. I mean, you might be able to finagle it out of there without doing this. It's just not worth it. But what I was saying about be careful is whenever you're threading this back together, do not try and really tighten this screw because you will strip it out. And then this part is stripped and you gotta try different things possibly to get it to work. I mean, like I know I've wrapped tape around the screw and then screwed the screw in. You can go as far as JB welding this hole. All right, but it's best just to, whenever tightening it up, as soon as you feel it stop, that's it. Just get it barely snug and just don't ever strip it out. All right, so now what we can do, best to just go ahead and lay this off to the side. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's been a while since I actually worked on one of these. So you got to drive this pin out. There we go. She's coming now. Remove the pin. Now we can remove the throttle, which will in turn allow us to pull the carburetor on out. and remove this linkage. Come on, come on. There you go. We'll rebuild that carburetor. Set that off to the side. Oh, there's some mud dauber stuff going on. All right. Now, oh, there we go. Well, that's your impulse line. This one right here just popped right off. I don't know if it's broken on the other end or what. Probably is. It looks like it's broken. So we'll have to mess with that, which means we may have to take this gas tank off. I sure hope not. Ugh. Let's go ahead and get this clutch off. All right, the reason I'm taking the clutch off is because I've worked on these a lot now. And what I have found is that the bearing seals, first I'm checking the bearing, up and down, there's no movement whatsoever. Side to side, there's a little movement, but that's the case on these, I find. So that bearing is good. We're happy on that front. But the seals, the crank seals, in a saw this old, my guess is like the carburetor does not have any safeties on it. I bet you this is from the early 90s or late 80s, probably early 90s. I don't know if they had gone to the 54cc version at this point. You know, before the 90s. I'm not sure if they went to 54 cc's before the 90s. So if it was just like a 1989 saw, it may more likely have been a 3000, not the 3300. Same saw, just a smaller piston. Now you want to be careful with this, pulling this oil pump off, because the gaskets, they usually stay in place. But the problem is if they don't, it's kind of hard to get another oil pump gasket. Maybe impossible. Might have to make one yourself. So there we go. Work it off of there nice and easy. Oh, that is full of all kinds of gunk. You see that? I don't know if you can see that or not. Man, it is really gobbed up. So we'll have to clean that out. Now, this is where a lot of folks get kind of stuck on these chainsaws. They don't know how to remove this worm gear. Well, you can get in there with your screwdriver and slowly pop it, turn the crank, pop it some more, pop it some more. See what I'm doing? Oh, I need to go the other way. But I'm slowly removing that worm gear. Just with a screwdriver. Now, I am certain that there is a special tool for this that you could get. But what I did, I made my own worm gear puller. If I can find it. It's right here. Now, it doesn't say on there what size it is, but I think it's 1/2 inch NPT. Screws right down on there, no problem. And then, instead of messing with the threads, your pulling on the actual coupling that I'm using. You can't just raise one side over and over and over though, because you'll get it cocked, crooked, and then it really won't want to come off. Come on, you're almost there. There we go. So now whenever you go to put it back on, you can put it back in something like this, pound it on, or you can use the right size socket that is small enough to still catch on this, but big enough to slide all the way over your crankshaft there. All right. So what was I saying about the crank seals? Yes, I am immediately removing this crank seal because I find that on the saw this old, it's not worth it to see if it's not leaking. They normally do leak in my experience, and so go ahead and replace it. Now, and the way that I get them out, I have an actual puller. I have a crank seal puller, but with these, they're so fat. See that? They tend to bend, and so it's worthwhile to just go ahead and not even try your crank seal puller. I take a screw. Let me make sure you can see that. How am I going to make sure you can see that? Let's change the angle. Angle of the dangle. That's good enough. Yeah, you can see that, right? There we go. Now you got to be, well, still didn't quite get it now, did I? Come on. There we go. Now you got to be quite careful when doing this. If you go too far with that screw, you will damage your bearing underneath it. Ask me how I know. Ta-da! So the way that you can go too far is you can get in there and actually damage the cage around your bearing. So you barely get that screw in there. Barely get it in there. Now we've got our new seal here. First, getting it on there is kind of an issue. What I like to do is I like to take me some stiff paper in this case, make a funnel out of it. Now you got to get it to where that funnel will open up and go over that crank shaft. There we go. Now that creates a nice little ramp for the crank seal to slide down over. And we take us a nice fat socket. Well, we're going to have to get this cardboard out of there first. Oh, I'm going in crooked. There it is. Now we drop right in there. We just want it to get flush with the case surface. One more round of hits. There we go. New crank seal installed. So we go ahead. Now we clean up this oil pump. I'll do that off camera. Okay, we got that sorted. Check it. All right, what had gone bad was this oil seal right here had gone bad. The rubber part actually got sucked in and everything. But all kinds of wood fibers and everything were getting packed in there. And my guess is that's why this saw was taken out of service. Because, and these things do not have a spring wrapped around them. It's just rubber. So with that, you can, in fact, just go ahead and just kind of cram it down over the crankshaft. You don't have to do that little sleeve trick. But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, that seal had went bad, and lucky for me, I had one, because every now and then you can still find gasket kits for these things. They pop up on eBay and places like that. Actually, just eBay is all I know of. But whenever I buy a full kit, that's the first time I've ever seen that oil seal be bad. So, me personally. So, I had an extra laying around. Pop it right in there. Good to go. There we go. Let's go ahead while we're here. Oil up this bearing. I guess it's not oil. I just put a little bit on the desk right there. You want to try and pack it in there, which is just simply shoving it in. Bada bing, bada boom. Paper towels are your friends. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no, that's... No, this goes on first. Then your bearing. Don't forget. So we got a 325 7-pin sprocket. You can put a 3/8 sprocket on these, and it'll run a 3/8 chain. No problem. There we go. Now, I made this puller myself. This clutch tool. All I did was stick 2 metal rods in these slots and put a socket in there and weld the metal pins in place. See what we can do there. There we go. Now it's going to be hot. There we go. Come on. Get started. There we go. Hopefully that's enough. Couldn't be easier. On this side, you do not need the rubber trick. Or not the rubber, the sleeve trick. It just slides right on. Good. Now, before I put this on, right there is our impulse line. We know that we need a new impulse line. Let's get the nipple off of here. Got it. Now, we can only hope that the impulse is not blocked with a bunch of gunk. They oftentimes can be. Can you guys see what I'm doing here? Right there's your nipple. That's for your impulse. On these saws here, it feeds directly into your crankcase. On other saws of the high top variety, they feed into the cylinder. And before we go any further, I'm going to try and blow through this hose. My impulse is clogged. Shit. Damn it. So that means I have to clear that impulse line, which means I need to take this gas tank off, which ain't that a crock of shit. Yes, it is. These gas tanks, I think, are an absolute pain in the ass. Okay, little teeny tiny drill bit. Probably not going to be able to see this at all. Our piston is all the way up top. I feel secure in actually sending a drill in and cutting the gunk out. There we go. So now, can you hear that? We have impulse. So now that we got our impulse clearly working, and we have our gas tank almost completely off, We're going to go right back at it. Put this impulse on before we put the gas tank back in place. All right. There we go. That wasn't so painful, now was it? Why, no, it wasn't. It wasn't painful at all. Now this one is missing a vibration eliminator right there. I don't have another one to put in it, but it'll be fine. All right, while we're here, might as well deal with the fuel lines. So this one right here is kind of particular. You want to push it down in there and then cut this part out. And you reach in there and get this, because this has your duckbill valve set up on it. So you want to keep that plastic piece and the duckbill valve. You want to make sure and keep that, because that's going to be important. And on this side, you've got this coarse or porous brass insert inside there. So what you do, you want to cut that out. Don't cut your finger. So now you've got the porous copper thing. All right, this creates your vent tube setup. Get a pretty decently long chunk of your fuel tube. Stick it down in that hole. And bring it out the bottom here. Once it's out the bottom, you put your duct valve on. Like that. And then we pull it back up. It's going to be real tight. You want to try and push from the bottom while you pull at the top. Bada bing, bada boom. So that little union that's inside there that the duckbill goes onto is making this hose swell out, so it makes it really tight right here. So now, come in here, we cut that off pretty close, and we put our little porous brass piece down inside like that. There you have it. That's good. Duckbill valve on the bottom. Cinch it up real good and tight into your tank. Porous brass piece out the top. Now here's your actual fuel line. Actual fuel line, you might be able to just shove it down. Just grab it. There we go, we're good. That has clogged up something nasty. So, new fuel line. Well, cut it at an angle. Okay, the right length for your fuel filter is the length where it will sit against the back wall. No more, no less. There we go, we're good. Boy, we're getting close. Let's go ahead and put this flywheel back on. There we go. Remember that washer. That washer is important. Go ahead and put the plug back in so that we have compression working for us. Getting close, ain't we, guys? Yes, yes we are. Oh, the carburetor. We're gonna need to tear that apart and rebuild it. I'll do that off camera. Okay, so here we go. I did fire it up off camera. Took 7 pulls. That always seems to be the magic number whenever they've set and drained. There's no fuel. Takes 7 pulls to get it to fully run. But let's see if it fires on 1 pull because it's been sitting for about 15 or 20 minutes now. No signs of it oiling yet. I don't want to run it without the side cover until I put it in the wood. So, you know, that's the only way to really truly see if it's oiling. So let's go ahead and put it in the wood real quick.